Episode 1, Preventing Violence. Segment 1, What is Violence Prevention? Segment 2, Cultural and Community Connectedness. Segment 3, On the Ground. For generations, American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian peoples have faced an ongoing crisis of violence, human trafficking, and an epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous people, also known as MMIP. In fact, Native Americans face a disproportionately high rate of violence. The lasting impact of this ongoing crisis can be felt across Indian country, urban areas, and beyond. More work must be done in order to build safe and healthy tribal communities and keep our Indigenous people and communities whole. My name is Chance Rush, Executive Director of Our Native Men. I'm Hidatsa and enrolled with the 3 affiliated tribes on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. Join us as we consider a path away from repairing the damage that violence causes and start to consider how we, together, can begin the work of keeping us whole. During this podcast series, I will be your guide throughout the country as we speak to Indigenous people from across Turtle Island on how we can engage proactively to prevent MMIP. We'll speak with tribal leaders, community organizers, academic experts, and of course, our partners at the Administration for Native Americans, the Department of Health and Human Services, and other government agencies engaged in this work. Episode 1, Preventing Violence. Segment 3, On the Ground. This segment will feature a personal experience of Carolyn DeFord, a family survivor of a missing and murdered Indigenous person, and how her experience has impacted her personally and professionally, and her perspective on what is working in terms of preventing MMIP and what needs attention. She will discuss what she sees as the biggest opportunity to help prevent violence like trafficking and how the government and communities work together successfully. Episode 1, Preventing Violence. Segment 3, On the Ground. Please welcome Carolyn DeFord, Puyallup Indian Tribe, Trafficking Project Coordinator, Puyallup Tribe of Indians, and founder of Missing and Murdered Native Americans Facebook, MMIWG advocate, and daughter of missing person, mother Leona LeClaire Kinsey. Hey, how are you guys doing there? I hope you're doing well. Chance Rush in the building. I would like to invite you all to the partnership between the Administration for Native Americans and Our Native Men coming together to put a podcast series together, Keeping Us Whole. 4 episodes, different segments in each one with amazing speakers, amazing information. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I can be in the middle of all of it, right? We've heard from Hope McDonald, Lone Tree. We also heard from Delight Satter. We heard from Sheldon, Spotted Elk, and man, we cannot finish the day off without hearing from Carol DeFord. So grateful and thankful that she is on with us. So without further ado, let's please welcome Carolyn DeFord to the podcast. All right. Hey. Okay. Well, Carolyn, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, man. That's one thing I love about Indian countries. You get to travel to a lot of different places and meet people and remember people, So I know it's been a while, been a little while now since we were able to visit again. How's everything going with you and your outreach here?
It kind of comes in waves. Sometimes everybody wants to hear and help, and sometimes we're all kind of recovering and taking a break. And I think that's the beautiful thing about having these grassroots organizations that are able to work together is that we can each lean on each other's gifts and each kind of take a break when our spirit needs a break. Because you can't do this full time 24/7 without wearing yourself down. So work has been good, outreach has been good, public awareness has increased. There's a lot of our non-native organizations are seeking to learn more and try to see how they can be a part of the solution and help. So that's really refreshing to have new audience.
Right. Well, we're so grateful and thankful that you're on the podcast here with us today. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is our 4-part series, Preventing Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons, Keeping Us Whole, presented by the Administration for Native Americans and Our Native Men. Again, today's episode is On the Ground here, episode 1, segment 3. With us, again, if you're just now joining, is Carolyn DeFord. She is an advocate for MMIWG. You want to share that acronym there with everybody?
MMIWG, Missing and Murdered Native American Women and Girls. I also add a P to that because we've got a lot of non-gender identifying folks and just the spectrum of human life that is all valuable. Every breath of life is valuable. So we just include everybody in the work that I do.
Mm-hmm. And I also say that you're the project coordinator over at the Puyallup Tribe, the trafficking project coordinator over at the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. You guys have a pretty unique setup. There in Tacoma. I was up there a few years ago doing a training, and I mean, you're right there in the city. You're right up on that mountain in the city. And I remember when I was doing the training, there was a break, and we took a break, and literally we had to just remind people to stay together and to because this is like right across the street. I don't know if it's still like that, but what is that like to have a tribe right there in Tacoma up on the hill like that?
I think it depends on whose perspective. There's a lot of non-native community members in the city of Tacoma, Puyallup, Fife, Milton, that don't even know we exist.
Right.
People who lived and grown up on the reservation, but didn't know they were on the reservation. So we still got a lot of work to do, but like you said, we're in the city. Puyallup Reservation is, we're luckily, on our ancestral land. Our traditional villages, we're all in the area that we are still inhabiting. So we're very blessed in that aspect. But they put the city of Fife, Tacoma, Milton, Puyallup, and Sumner all on top of our reservation. So the normal jurisdictional challenges that reservations would have, we've got 5 different jurisdictions on top of our reservation. We're one of the largest urban Indian tribes in the country, being that the city of Tacoma is right on top of us. We are along the I-5 corridor, so we're right in between Seattle, Olympia, and Portland, which is a major trafficking hub. And when you look at the UIHI reports and the Polaris project maps and any of the data that comes through, like NamUs or NECMEC, we have a very high rate of MMIW and human trafficking taking place where we're at. Being on the I-5 corridor, we're literally, the I-5 corridor runs through the middle of our reservation. We also have a SOAP district, which is stay out of areas of prostitution ordinance through the city of Fife and the city of Tacoma that are in the middle of our reservation. We've got an international port. We're 20 minutes from an international airport. We've got I-5 corridor. We're just 20 minutes from Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is a military installation that brings in a lot of business for the trafficking industry. So, and then the Seahawks and all of our sports, the Kraken and all the major sports events and concerts that take place within our area.
And you know that I-5, it's so busy where you hope you don't have an accident, you hope you don't break down, you hope you don't have a situation or an incident because it's so congested, construction and no sidewalks, just busy where it's just like you kind of almost have to fend for yourself. And the tribal complex is right off the interstate, right there. So and also the casino, what it draws, all the people that come from all over Canada, and from everywhere else. So obviously, we have to definitely have our radars up, and we definitely have to have, we're in high security, honestly, with our indigenous women. I see that you started a Facebook, Missing and Murdered Native Americans. How can why should we go to that page, and how can we help? On social media.
So I started this page in 2016. Um, I had some very amazing mentors. MMIW USA, the founder of MMIW USA, Deborah Shipman, has been a mentor since day one. And Janet Franson, who runs Lost and Missing in Indian Country, were my mentors. And I shadow under them. I still do. They're just endless sources of resource information. And we all have our special skills. So there's nothing in this work that is like my work. Like I have something that I may be good at and somebody else may be good at. But I started this page because my vision was a little bit more at the time on not just sharing posters, because I really did want to have another platform to share posters. And we made it Native Americans, meaning everybody on Turtle Island, but to kind of align with, like we said, all people, all of our
Hmm.
all of our relatives across Turtle Island that are missing, and to provide support to those families. So
Hmm.
all of the admins on the page are MMIWP family members who have lost loved ones and want to use our time and our skills and our gifts and our experience to kind of relieve some of the burden for other families. So we help create posters. We might contribute to searches with gas cards, or order posters across the country for a family to go pick up at Office Max, or Staples, or anywhere where they can go pick up printing. Those things are expensive, and if you're already having to take time off of work and put gas in your car and go search, and the mental toll that takes on you to be in crisis, to pay 50 cents a piece for a copy is kind of,
Yeah.
it's hard to come up with some of these funds. They all add up. So we try to relieve some of that burden, whether that's creating the posters and ordering them for people, or just asking, what they need. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's just a listening ear,
Yeah.
just somebody
Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
through.
They also, one thing I remember about the word advocating, it's there and it's expensive. It's there. You can do it. You can get out and, play your part, but it's also expensive, when it comes to the marketing and the materials and, everything that you need to, and, without the expenses, there's a smaller chance of, bringing one of our relatives home,
Mhm.
so, that we're grateful that you started that Facebook page. And I want to encourage everyone to get out there and visit. It's our Facebook page is Missing and Murdered Native Americans. You guys can look on there and see how you can play your part. So just I just had a few questions for you today. Friday afternoon, obviously we got to head home here in a little bit, but before we do that, I know, we're first of all, we're very grateful and thankful that you have taken time to be on our podcast with us, because I do know that this is a very, very important subject that we need to talk about, and we that's the key word: talk about it, right? So, can you speak about your experience as a survivor of MMIP?
Yeah, gosh, we just passed the anniversary of my mom's disappearance. She disappeared October 25th, 1999. She went to the store. She told a friend that she was going to the store to meet a man named John, and that as soon as she met up with him, that she would be over. And she never showed up at her friend's house. And that was the last anybody. That's it. That's the trail runs cold right there, for several years anyway. And now we're kind of starting to get some leads and some people coming forward. And it's been 22 years, but it's never too late. People start remembering things, or maybe they feel safe enough to start talking about it now. You know, John was a dangerous man, and he threatened other people. I'll do you like I did Leona. And so we're hoping now, 22 years gone by, that people feel safe enough to share what they knew, or what they suspected, what they thought, what they seen. But when I lost my mom, I was just 25 years old. I was pretty young. I still needed my mom. You know, I still have a lot of questions for her. You know, like my first Thanksgiving without my mom, where I stepped into that role of having to host my own Thanksgiving. How do you make deviled eggs? Like, how do I make my mom's deviled eggs? Little
Hmm.
things like that that you don't realize at the onset that are gonna be with you for forever. You know, like, how do I make things that my mom made the way that she made them? How do I teach myself how to make jerky the way that she did, or to smoke salmon the way that she did?
Hmm.
Because these are, you know, familial knowledge and tradition that are passed down and passed down. And we lost that, you know. And a lot of our families who lose their loved ones, they lose that. They lose those teachings and traditions, and the stories behind those lessons and those things that we've learned. And for us, you know, smoking salmon is a generation after generation. It's time immemorial where we're at. And I have to learn from someone else, you know, and my kids have to learn from someone else. So those things have really, um, that's just a couple of examples. But every season, every holiday, every major event, they should be here, you know. And uh, when I first lost my mom, there were no cell phones. There was really not a lot of people had, there were phones, but, you know, people didn't really have them. Um, no, not a lot of readily available access to internet or computers. I had a cousin who had a computer who made us a poster, and we didn't even really know what to put on the poster. There was this kind of disillusioned belief that when somebody goes missing, law enforcement steps in and they do one, two, three, four, five. You know, they make a poster, they distribute it everywhere. There's a sign in the paper, you know, there's a billboard. It's going to be on the news. Like, you assume, you hope that these things are going to happen, but reality is you just get told, okay, thank you, call me when you hear something. I didn't get a case number. I didn't get a poster, I didn't get anything, you know. And so we're amateurs in crisis trying to make a poster and think about what really needs to go on that, you know. And to me, everything needed to go on it. I needed her life story on it, but, you know, we needed to keep it simple. And there was nobody really to walk through that, or to, you know, to consult. And so it's those little things, you know, that that I needed then. I
Hmm.
needed somebody
Hmm.
to show me where to put posters, to help me figure out when and how to do outreach or awareness events. And I had to kind of learn on my own, and learn through mentors and other grassroots advocates who do this work and advocate for me when I can't.
Right.
Um, because we always can't see our own situation the same, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've been blessed for that. But losing her at that young age, I just survived. You know, I just kept going one foot in front of the other and did what I had to do for a long time. And nobody wanted to talk about it. Law enforcement didn't want to talk about it. Nobody cared about my missing mom. You know,
Hmm.
it was something
Hmm.
that if you talk about, and I needed to talk about, people were like, "Oh, sorry," and then that you could see them like not know what to say next.
Yeah.
And so I quit talking about it because it made people uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And um, now people want to talk about it. It's healing. Sometimes it's raw and real therapy for families to give these
Right.
interviews, because you're processing emotions real time.
Yeah. You know, and you said a key word. You said raw. You know, it's real and raw. And you know, if you think about it, you know, you have to deal with this you have to live this every day, and how has that impacted your work, your family, your life?
Um, Still learning how it has impacted, my family. I think um, it when you lose anybody, you really kind of reprioritize life, right? You take inventory of what matters. Um, my mom is like I mean, our moms, our families, our mothers, our grandmas are our anchor to the world. They are the puzzle pieces surrounding where I fit. Where my piece fits in the big picture. And without her, I didn't really know who I was or where I was. And the first time I came into tribal community, um, I grew up away from the reservation. My mom fled domestic violence when I was about 3, and we never came back to the reservation. So I knew who I was. I knew I was Carolyn DeFord. I'm Puyallup Nisqually Cowlitz. My great grandfather is John LeClaire. My great grandmother is Elizabeth McLeod LeClaire. My mother is Leona LeClaire Kinsey. I knew my descendancy, and I knew my stories, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know I still didn't know where I fit among
Hmm.
my tribal community. And without my mom, who knew me?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And you say you're still figuring that out, and 22 years later, so you don't you never get over this, and you never should get over this, and you still have to be a family. You still have to be a mom. You still have to be uh, an advocate, and at the same time we have to think about not only our mom, but also the justice that the justice has to be there somewhere, and I really applaud you, for sharing this with us, and I really applaud and really grateful and thankful that you're on with this. Before I get into any more, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here, uh, part of our A&A podcast series, Keeping Us Whole. Obviously, Administration for Native Americans. That's what ANA is, and our Native Men. Uh, segment um, segment 3, episode 1, on the ground. We have with us, we have Carolyn DeFord, um, and it comes to us from the Puyallup community up there in Tacoma. Some would say Tacoma, Washington, and we're very grateful and thankful. She shared with us that her mother went up the road, went up to the gas station, and last time she saw her, I think that's right, October 25th. Is that correct? Or October 25th, 1999, 22 years ago. And so we do thank you for joining us. My next question for you is, what have you seen? Uh, what have you seen work in term? What do you seen in terms of preventing MMIP? What needs attention? What do we need to do? How can we play our part to bring awareness to, you know, um, reduce, getting rid of this, getting rid of the news of this, in terms, what can we do as a community?
Man, we can do a lot of things, and we really need to. But depending on what I'm thinking about, like I said, things change. What healing looks like change. What justice looks like change. Depending on where I'm working or what I'm doing, what prevention looks like changes. But the primary perpetrators of violence against women are men, and that's not to say that men don't experience violence at the hands of women as well, because we know that they do. But the primary perpetrators of homicide and violence against women, um, homicide of Native women, are at the hands of men. And so um, we love our brothers. We need them. We need you
Hmm.
guys. We need you here,
Yeah.
whole, healthy, and healed. And I think the major prevention is getting this. We have services and we have a lot of programs for women, and the stigma in receiving those programs for women is still strong, but it's even worse for men to seek help, for men to seek healing, for men to hold each other up,
Hmm.
and heal, so that we're not continuing these cycles of violence, so that we're raising our young men to know how to honor women and hold women as sacred, and to honor their brothers and raise them up and support them, and to teach their young girls um, how to expect how they should be treated. And I think that's our first step. Get the
Right.
the healing programs in there for our men and make safe spaces for our men to know that they're loved and wanted and welcome, and we need them, and we need you to heal so that we can have strong, healthy, whole communities. But uh, MMIWP prevention is domestic violence prevention. It's human trafficking prevention, substance use, homelessness, um, child abuse prevention. Like all of the intersections that play into MMIW, we need to work on prevention there.
Hmm.
So that we can get upstream. No matter what you do in social work, social service, or human services, whether that's housing, shelter, domestic violence, chemicals, chemical dependency, mental health, whatever it is, your ultimate goal is to promote wellness in your community. And
Hmm.
promoting wellness is preventing, hurt and harm, preventing that worst case scenario of one of our loved ones going missing or murdered.
There's not a, a celebration or an upside when it comes to MMIP, but what are some measurements that are working to, to I mean, what's working to protect our women, protect our persons, our people from getting abducted? What is working though?
Empowerment, empowerment
Mhm.
classes, self defense, being aware of your surroundings, those kind of things to help us know what to look out for. Education is our
Mhm.
is our biggest tool in preventing, and I think we are seeing a lot more opportunities for that education, opportunities for self defense, for self empowerment, for healing.
Mhm.
Um, we're seeing a lot more reports of MMIW and MMIP, and so um, is that success? That more
Right.
people are getting reported, and that there are um, advocacy organizations across the country to um, support those families and help get the word out and search. And uh,
Right.
so that's kind of a catch 22. Like the numbers look
No,
like they're
no.
getting worse,
I,
but we're also able to find folks and
right.
embrace families where we hadn't.
Yeah. No, I see about the catch-22. You're right on with that. What do you see as the biggest opportunity to help prevent violence like trafficking?
Oh gosh, we need to stop objectifying and sexualizing women in general.
Mm, mm,
The patriarchy. Women are not property. People are not property. Our LGBTQ folks are experiencing violence in these platforms at increasingly high rates, and at higher extreme violence than many others. And I think, just standing up,
yeah.
saying something when somebody is out of line, to call it out, to call out that violence, and to call out the oppression of um, our
You know,
vulnerable.
right. The other night, I was at a sporting event. I was at a hockey game, and there's two half times. I just now found that out that there's two half times in hockey. I thought the game was over, and I was like, no, you still got another one. But during the timeout, they had young girls out there who were scraping up the ice. And obviously they had tight outfits on, and they were just a top and a bottom, and that was it. And they were out there scraping up the ice, and they were going fast, and they were playing music and all that. And it just made me think, like, they would never put just men out there in just regular attire. There's always something to be sold. And what's so heartbreaking, Carolyn, is like we see that every day, and that is what we're starting to call the normal. Like, yeah, be a ice girl, right, and wear this small outfit and flapping down the rink, and during the breaks, if we're not out using the restroom or getting drinks, we'll watch you skate around and clean up the ice. You don't see guys doing that. But you're right, and them are some of the biggest opportunities is to say this isn't okay. And I know they're just girls skating, but that's where it starts, right? That's where it
Mhm.
starts. Um, you know, my
when
other, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
when you look at it that way too, our young girls are looking at those, that's what I want to do. They're healthy, they're
Hmm.
fit, um, if our young girls aren't catching people's eyes, they're invisible, right?
Yeah, they
If you're
feel like
not
that. Yep.
and so you've got these standards to live up to, and behaviors and dress and society's norms to live up to in order to be considered beautiful. And what does that tell our young men? That if they don't look like, if the girl that I like doesn't look like this, she's not attractive, or if she's not doing that, she's not cool or pretty or whatever. But we're setting these standards for attractiveness and self-worth and value
And we're
based
also
on.
setting, yeah, we're also setting some of the standards that I'm up here, you're down here, because like if you think about it, here's another analogy. Imagine, a couple sitting in the arena, right? And a wife or a girlfriend sees that, right? And then there's that conversation. How come you can't look like that? See what happens if you would work out. See what happens. Then that starts to become like a product. That person becomes a product. What you are, what you not are. But then the guy next to me, why with his wife, he got to holler around. He got to hoot around and holler around, and you know, and she sat through that. You know, so you talk about standards, like there's some of us that think we're up here and you're less than because look how it's delivered out here in the world. And I think, I'll say this as a man and a father of, six beautiful daughters, that I don't mind being um, that dad that's protective, that dad that's got a lot of questions to ask, but I just thought about that the other night. This is like how we sell it, and not only how we sell it, Carol, but also how we accept it. You know, so hey, listen, I know we got a lot going on. Before I let you get out of here, how can the government and communities work together successfully to during? I mean, how can we work good together in this crisis?
Communication, sharing of resources. I know some networking. uh, I mean, we're only as strong as our reach, right? Like I can only do so much, but if I can call on you and I can call on you, and we can bring organizations who have different resources or information networks together to share posters, you know, to share. Um, Maybe you can print. Maybe you have a graphic artist that can make a poster for this family. Maybe you can print me 15 posters or 20 posters and a family can come pick them up,
Hmm.
wherever we're at. But having government support sharing within networks, communicating what do communities need, what do families need. It's not a blanket solution. Every community is different. What's going to work in Tacoma in the middle of the city in between Puyallup or in between Portland and Seattle is not going to work for Browning, you know,
Yeah.
um, or Fort Hall or any of our more rural reservations. So
Hmm.
having that communication is huge. I think one of the things is people always say, "What can I do for you?" Well, I don't know what you can do. Why don't you tell me
Hmm.
what you think you can do for me sometimes? Because I can ask for stuff all day and it's never going to come through. But what can you do for me? What can you do for our community? What can you do for the family? Um, because we really don't know what we can ask for if we don't know
Right.
what's available.
Right. Oh man, Carolyn DeFord, I want to thank you for jumping on with me today. Like I said, I know that you've been going through a lot, and I want you to know that we've been thinking about you. Thoughts and prayers are with you, and just thank you for coming on and not only sharing your knowledge with us, but talking about not even just a tough subject, but a subject that you have spent 22 years of your life dealing with, and how it reflects to, your family, your children, whatever it may be. So, thank you for joining us. And that will conclude our podcast. Uh, Carolyn, thank you for joining us, and you have a wonderful day.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. All right. That was the one and only Carolyn DeFord. We do appreciate her. Listen, joining me. That concludes our episode 1 sessions. We've had some great speakers that came in and shared with us. Again, I want to give a very special thanks to the Administration for Native Americans as they present our podcast series, Keeping Us Whole. That wraps up this series, episode 1, segment 3. Her program was called On the Ground. We want to thank you guys for all tuning in, and just take care of each other. Look after each other, and play your part. That's the whole purpose of having these podcasts, is for you to play your part, speak up, speak out, do things in a healthy way. Be mindful, okay? And don't forget to join us for our upcoming podcast here. We got episode 2 coming on. Some great segments in there. All right. Chance with Greatness, Chance Rush in the building, in partnership, Chance with Greatness in partnership with A&A, Keeping Us Whole. Okay. We'll see you guys next time. All right.
Please visit the following websites to identify federal resources to assist communities in preventing MMIP. The Administration for Children and Families ACF MMNA Framework landing page. https://www.acf.hhs.gov/ANA/MMNA-framework. ACF's Family and Youth Services Bureau, Domestic Violence Resource Network. https://www.acf.hhs.gov/FYSB/FV-centers. The Administration for Native Americans Domestic Violence Awareness Public Service Announcements. https://www.acf.hhs.gov/ANA/domestic-violence-PSAs. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Violence Prevention Resource page. https://www.cdc.gov/violence prevention. U.S. Department of Interior's Indian Affairs Missing and Murdered Unit, www.bia.gov/service/MMU. The U.S. Department of Justice MMIP landing page, www.justice.gov/tribal/MMIP. We would like to thank all the speakers for their time, support, and dedicated commitment to the MMIP podcast series. Through continued advocacy and collaboration, we can work together to end the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous people, MMIP. The views and opinions of featured speakers on the MMIP podcast series are solely theirs and should not be attributed to the Department of Health and Human Services, the Administration for Children and Families, or the Administration for Native Americans.